Kal Kadosh, Boker Or, Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Amud Aleph 85A1. Says the Gemara, we were speaking about different people that had anava. So it says here, that's what Rabbi comes and he says, Shloshan Vatninen Ve'elu and Abba, his father, because his father called himself a Shual, the Yachas to Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. We're talking about the father of Rabbi, right? Rabbi Shimon says, Benevet Terab is more said, Hoshivu Barosh. They put him at the beginning, and they made them into a nasi. And that was all to do with the... So Bnei Terah were nisiim during the time of the Bait. So once happened that during their nisiyut, right, in a year that it came out, Arbaat Sab Nisan and Pesach with Shabbat, they asked to Korbanot Pesach push off the Shabbat Bnei Terah. They forgot the halacha. So they asked, does anybody know? And it was told that there was one person that his name was Hillel Bavli that he did know. So they went and they called him and he answered them that it does push off the Shabbat. And he brought proofs from the psukim. So when they saw how great he was, they appointed him to become, right, the nasi. And from then on, it went from him. So therefore, that was the greatness of Bnei Betera. Okay, and then what? No, Korban Pesach pushes off Shabbat. So he says, and the last one was Yonatan and Shaul, the Kamale that he comes and he says to David, the Tatin Lochal Yisrael. You're going to become the king, and I will be for you a minister, right? The second in command, Mishneh LaMelech, right? This is the viceroy. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara. Everybody have it? Says the Gemara. Mimai. How do we know that all these cases they show you anava? Didma Yonatan ben Shaul. Maybe Yonatan ben Shaul. The Chaza de Garid Alma Batar David. He saw that everybody was running after David, right? Which means that he knew he was going to. It wasn't he was mevater. He already knew what was going on. So that's it. There was nothing what to do. Bnei Betera Nami, also Bnei Betera, the Chazul Hillel, they saw that Hillel Zaken was better than them. So therefore, right, they were going to become embarrassed. So it wasn't because they were anavaz. They realized if they come and they continue in their position of power, it's going to become a problem. He says that for sure was anava. That's true. 100%. Meaning the first, or whatever, the first it was the opposite order. It was first Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, and then it was the Bnei Betera and Hillel. But whichever the case was, right, what we're saying is that for sure was going to be anava. The other two, whoever said it was anava. So Amar Rabbi says, right? He says, Chavivim Yisurim. Do you know Yisurim are very, very chaviv? Some people always complain when they get Yisurim. But really, Be'emet, it's chaviv, it's precious Yisurim. Says why? Kabila le tlesar shane. He was mekabel al atzmo 13 years, right, of Yisurim. Shit vitzmirta, 6 of them were going to be small ones. Right, so here it was in the Tzinora Sheten, it was in the urinal canal. Ushva, right, Betzafrana, and 7 years was going to be a sickness in the mouth. So here it says toothaches, yeah. So he says ve'amrila, and some people say shiv'a betzmirta. It was 7 years in the urinal canal and 6 years in the safrana. Okay, Ahuriana de Rebbe. Ahuriana is the Shomer Susim, just like we found that Hashverosh was the Shomer Susim of Nebuchadnezzar. Hava'atir, he was actually richer. So imagine the Shomer Susim of Rebbe was more wealthier than the king of Persia. Yeah, the king of Pras, Yeshivur Malka. Right? So imagine he became rich because of all the fertilizer of the excrement of the animals of Rebbe. So imagine how much money Rabbi had. You understand? Imagine, we're talking about Shomer Susim come, and he had more money than the king of Persia. When he used to throw the animal food, the animal fodder, the rash would go for 3 meals. Remember that a meal, right, is almost a mile. It's just under a kilometer, according to the Grachnai. Okay, so imagine a kilometer. We're talking about so he used to go for 3 kilometers. Okay, so he used to be mechaven when he was throwing it. in order that when Rabbi goes to the Bet HaKiseh, because that means that when they used to go, imagine he had a urinary, I don't know how you call it in English, doctor. No, it's how do you say the doctor? Yeah. So here it says over here, right? It says that the how do you call this? That the urinary infection over here would actually come and cause him what's it called? Would cause him a lot of pain and suffering. So he used to scream when he used to go to the washroom. So purposely he used to throw the food when Rebbe would go to the washroom, he would calculate the same time in order that people wouldn't hear the screamings of Rebbe, that he was screaming in pain when he went to the washroom. And even with all that, his screams would go over the screamings of the animal, and even the people that were Yordei Ayam, which means that they were Mamash at the sea, they would be able to hear his screams. Imagine how much pain and suffering, right, that he had. And still, Rabbi Shimon, Adife Midrebi. The sufferings of Rabbi Rabbi Shimon was more than the sufferings of Rebbe. You remember yesterday we were speaking about Rabbi Rabbi Shimon, right? His sufferings, and he used to come and he used to have in the night times, and he used to say, "Come to me in the night times." In the morning, he used to shoot him away, and then he used to come and he used to take all the blood and the pus and all these things. That was yesterday's stuff. Okay, so it says here, so that means Rebbe's Yisurim, right, was still less than the Yisurim Rabbi Rabbi Shimon. Te'ilu Rabbi Rabbi Shimon me'ava ba'u u'me'ava alchu. He used to come be'ava and he used to go be'ava. The Rebbe was because of a story. Right here it says the Gemara actually speaks about that Rebbe himself didn't say right about that he was accepting upon himself, right? But he says, okay, there were two different stories that happened. Here it says, okay, there's a whole question here. Here it says, the Avdel Benem is Yisurim Shel Rabbi Elazar Shimon was Yisurim Shel Ahava, which they don't cause Bitul Torah. Right? He says, and that's why he was still able to come and command them in the morning, go away, so that way he could learn Torah. Rebbe were not Yisurim Shel Ahava because of the story. And because of the story, so therefore, right, it comes over here, and it says he wasn't able to tell them basically go away. So let's see the stories. They came because of a story. Mahi, what exactly was the story? Tahu igla davu kamamtu leshita. There was an egel that they were taking it for shechita. Azal talia lereshe biknafed Rebbe. It went and it put its head into the bosom of Rebbe, right? Basically, into, he hid himself into the clothing of Rebbe. The kabachi started crying. Elmaleh, he went and he said, "Zil go, kilekach notzarta. You were created for that." He basically told them, "What do you want? You were created for that." Amri, they said, Hoil velo kamenachem. He said, since he doesn't have mercy on the creatures of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, letu ale yisurim. Right? He's going to have yisurim. Right? Why? Because basically what happened was, it was like a achzaruyot here. Right? They weren't supposed to be immediately for shechita. Usually they come, they do melacha, and they become then shvarim, and then only once they're much older. That's not right away they come and boom, shechita. So therefore, the fact that he didn't have mercy on the animal, and again, we're talking about an animal of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so therefore he had yisurim. Okay? How did it go away? Yom achad, havakakan sha'amted Rebbe bebeita. Says one day the Shivcha Rebbe was brooming the floor. She was swimming the floor. Havashad yebene karkushta. So they were throwing, right, the gurei chulda, right, little weasels with kakan shalu, and she was trying to get rid of it. Amarla, he told her, shavkinhu, leave them. It's written, which means even on the small little tiny children of the weasels, you should have mercy and not to come and start throwing them. Amri, they said in the Rakia, now since he has mercy on the creatures, we will have mercy on him. So therefore, it actually comes out that since it was as if to say as a punishment, and it wasn't Yisurim Shel Ahava, he couldn't come and command them to come and to go. It was something that automatically came. So therefore, even if it was going to cause them to stop learning, it doesn't matter. But that was because of the punishment, as if to say, and that was for 13 years. because Rabbi didn't have, right, mercy, right, on the creatures of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Gemara is now going to go back on the comparison between Rabbi and Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon. Kulu, remember, this is supposed to be tomorrow's daf, which is, right? So he says, Kulu Shenei Yisured Rabbi Elazar, right? During these years, right, of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, Lo Shachi Vinish Velo Zmaneh. It didn't exist somebody dying if it wasn't the proper time. Didn't exist. Yeah, that was the concept. Yeah, so here it says, why? Because basically the Yisurim of Rabbi Elazar were redeeming everybody else, and therefore nobody died in the proper time. Okay? Kulu Shene Yisured Rabbi, all the years of the Yisurim of Rabbi, Lo Itzlich Alma Lamitra. The world did not need any rain. Why? Because they always had enough rain. Okay? So the Amar Rabba, because it says Rabba, Bar Rav Shila. Kashi Yoma Demitra, Ki Yoma Dedina. Look how difficult it is. The Yoma Geshem, right? Why? Because they can't do anything. You remember, what do we learn in Tanit? We said if we were able to do it, we wouldn't have rain at all. Why? We don't want rain, right? Rain stops you from doing your things. You want to come, you want to work, you want to do it. All of a sudden, it starts raining. So Kiyoma Dedina. Yeah, so he says, the Amar Meimar comes and he says, Ilav Tzarich Le'alma, they would have come and they would have completely annulled it. They would have come and they would have completely gotten rid of it. Chet Amud Bet Ta'anit. Yeah, they would have annulled it. Afilu Achi, and even so, Akre Pugla Mimishra, when they would take away a radish, when they would uproot a radish from the furrow, Havi Kaima Beda Malia Maya. Right? They would come and it would be filled, right, of water. Right? It would become filled with water. Marsha explains that because of the zechut of the Yisurim of each one of them, there was a certain type of a beracha. The Zabir of Shimon, that he used to get the listim, so therefore, right, he suspected that he caused their death before their time. So therefore, since the Yisurim came on him, so therefore no death came prior to the proper time. But the Yisurim of Rebbe was because of Achzariyut, right, the cruelty that he showed, and therefore because of that, there was midat rachamim in the world, and therefore there was no they didn't even need yemedin. Okay, so each one was like midah keneged midah. Ikla Rebbe le'atred Elazar Shimon. So once happened, the Rebbe came to the place of Elazar Shimon after he passed away. Amar lehu, so the people told him, Yeshlo ben leoto tzaddik. This is what? He's got a son to the tzaddik. Amru lo yeshlo ben vechol zona sheniskeret b'shnayim socharto b'shmoneh. Yeah, what does that mean? He's so handsome, right, that even a very expensive, meaning like a very hashuv zona, right, he says that, would come and take him for like a double, basically, right? Mamash, right? Which one? But he says, Atye, they brought him in front of him, right? Have you Rabbi Lefanav? So, Aspecha Rabbi, and he made him into a rabbi. Yeah? Ve'ashem Rabbi Shimon ben Isi ben Lekonia. That means, so obviously he comes and he says he didn't give him a real semicha, because obviously they can't give semicha to somebody that's Yerechet and Rawi Lorot B'Torah and everything, right? And the son of Rabbi Elazar obviously was very, very far away from that, obviously, right? But basically they went and they started calling him Rebbe in order that he should be fitting for that. You understand? So, and therefore he says actually something very interesting, that the original semicha would then actually chal. So he says, "Ve'ashram el Rabbi Shimon ben Isi ben Lekonia," right? Achua deime, right? In order, so then what he did is he gave him over. He paid Rabbi Shimon ben Isi, right, which was basically the uncle, which is basically from the mother, right, the brother of the mother, in order to teach him Torah. Okay, so imagine this is all what he did in order to come and to Kol Yom Amar. Every single day he used to say, "Likrayati ani ezel." I want to go back to my city, right? Instead of staying here to learn Torah. Amarle, right? One day, right? He went and he said, "Why are you Hakim Avdu Yatach?" right? He says, yeah, they're going to make you into a chacham. They're going to put on you gold and everything. And they're going to call you rabbi. And you're going to tell me, I want to stop, go back. Amarle, he says, he went with a shavua, and he said, Azuva da. He got right. Forget about it. Yeah, I'm not going to go. So he went. He said, "That's it. I'm staying here." Yeah, he made an oath that he's staying here. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
We don't call him by his name.
Which one?
We don't call him by his name at all.
So what happens is he says, "Azubada." That's it. He's not going to go. Ki gadal ata yatim mintito de Rabbi. When he grew up, he came to the yeshiva of Rabbi. Sham'e lekale. So Rabbi heard his voice. V'amar hakala dame lekale de Rabbi Elazar. One second. I remember the voice of it, but this voice sounds like the son of Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. Yeah, so he says, Amrule, they said, Berehu. It's the son of Rabbi Elazar. It's not Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon himself. It's his son. Kari ale, he went and he said on him, Peri tzadik, etz chayim, velokeach nefashot chacham. Peri tzadik etz chayim is Rabbi Yosef. Here's your name. Rabbi Yosef be Rabbi Elazar Rabbi Shimon. That he was the son of Rabbi Elazar at Tzadik. And b'zchut his father, the tzaddik, he was zocher to become a bal Torah. Yeah, because of that. So he says, "Velokeach nefashot chacham" is Rabbi Shimon ben Isi ben Lekunya. So he taught him the Torah. Right? But now it's considered that he's like his father. Right? Kinach nafsheh. So now when Rabbi Yosef ben Rabbi Elazar was going to pass away, amtu leme'arta de'avua. They brought him to the me'ara of the father. Havahadra la'achna le'marta. Again, remember, there was a snake that was in the entrance. You remember that the snake opened up to let Rabbi Elazar come in by the father. Amarle. Okay, Amrule. It's the exact. They said to him, Achna, petach picha, yikanes ben etzel aviv. Velo patch. He didn't open up. Kisfurim ha'am nomar. So they thought of saying shezeh gadol mizeh, that Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon was greater than Rabbi Yosef's son, because Rabbi Elazar they did allow him, but they didn't allow the son. Yatzta bat kol ve'amra. There was a bat kol that came out and said, "Lo mipene shezeh gadol mizeh." It's not because this one was greater. Ella shezeh, right? Haya betzar me'ara. This one was in the me'ara of Rashbi. He was in the me'ara. V'zeh lo haya betzar me'ara. And this one was not. So you see from here that that's why there was a special thing. That the me'ara of the Rashbi was only Rashbi and his son Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yosef became so great, he became like his father Rabbi Elazar also. But obviously not at the beginning, only later on. But the fact that he didn't suffer in the me'ara, which is like Bauman in a few days, so what happened? That's why he wasn't zochet to go in, but not because he wasn't as great. He was as great. And this is Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. So you have Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and you Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon. So now the Gemara says, Ikla Rabbi la'atred Rabbi Tarfon. Another similar story. Rabbi went to the city of Rabbi Tarfon after he passed away. Amaleh, when he said, Yesh lo ben lo tzaddik, is there a son to this tzaddik? Shaya mekapeach et banav, because he actually killed a lot of the children during his lifetime, right? Meaning he used so many times swear in the life of his children that if something was true or not true, and therefore, kilu, they would actually die. So therefore, right, it's a problem. It was like a curse. So therefore, Amrulo, they said, Ben en lo. He doesn't have a Ben. Ben bat yesho, but he has a grandson. So he doesn't have a son. He's got a grandson. The grandson from the daughter. V'chol zonah sheniskere b'shnayim sochado b'shmona. So the same thing, right? Any zonah, yeah, listening, any, right, that would take for, right, would come and have wages, right, twice of the wage of a regular zonah, would come and take him like 8 times, meaning that mama, she would pay him, right? So it says that you look again, the same thing, yeah. So he says he brought him from him. Amaleh, he says, Ihad Rabach, if you do teshuvah, Yahivna lach bartai, I'll give you my daughter. Wow, you saw it? Yeah, you saw that? He comes and he says, if you're going to do teshuvah, I'm going to give you my daughter. You see how here the Chachamim, look what Rabbi Yochanan that we just learned the other day, 2 days ago, right, with Resh Lakish. Look at Rabbeinu HaKadosh. Mamash, something incredible. Yeah, mamash, like powerful stuff. You know, how they were not afraid. Obviously, this is a tikkun for Dinah and Yaakov. You know that. But anyway, and it was, remember, Rabbeinu HaKadosh, right, was a nitzotz of Yaakov Avinu. So obviously, for sure, this has to be something. There has to be something here. You understand? Which is there. That chidush, you have to write it down. By the way, that I just said. Right. So he says, Hadar be. See, Rabbeinu HaKadosh for sure. Rabbeinu HaKadosh lo met. It's a Gemara Mefuresh, Ketubot, the end. If you remember, Rabbeinu HaKadosh never died. You remember he used to come back. He was always in his house every Friday night doing Kiddush. And then he was he knew that he died. He never actually died. He always was there. Until finally they went and they said, go to Rabbeinu. And then he didn't want to come back. Because if not, he was going to be Motzi Laz al Metim. But Rabbeinu HaKadosh, he was so to Yaakov Avinu. That was the Gemara. V'chisav Tusav Danyana v'kablu kavrayana. He lo met. The exact same way. Rabbeinu HaKadosh was a nitzotz of Yaakov Avinu. So he comes and he says, right, we saw this many times also. Rabbeinu HaKadosh was very, very famous. Right, so he says, he says, you do teshuvah, he did teshuvah. Ika de amre, some people say, nasva vegirsha, that he got married to her, but he divorced her. Ika de amre, and some people say, lo nasva klal, he never got married to her. Kidei shelo imru, that people shouldn't say, bishvil zo chaza b'teshuvah. Meaning, there's a whole question what happened exactly. Either that Be'emet he didn't actually get married to her. Why? He didn't want that in the future people are going to say that the only reason why he was Chuzah B'Tshuvah was only just to have his daughter. You understand? But here he says this was in the footnote. He brings down about the Resh Lakish and Rabbi Yochanan, and he wasn't afraid of that. He says because Rabbi Yochanan was Matzia Kach Resh Lakish B'Tzin'ah. So that means only both of them knew about it. Nobody knew. But this thing of Atza'ah was done in publicly. So therefore, the Ben Yehuda, this is what the Ben Ishchai says, everybody knew about it, and that's why he didn't want to accept it. That's the difference between the Shakish, that he did accept the offer, and he got married to the sister of Rabbi Yochanan, and not the grandson of Rabbi Tarfon. Okay? So he says over here, or some people say that she got married to her, but he divorced her. Okay? So says the Gemara, Elmaleh kulahai. He says, why did Rabbi come? Why did he have to do so much? Like, what was so bothering him? You understand? He wasn't just sleeping around. He went and he mamash. Why? Why was he so preoccupied in this? He says, the Amar of Yudah Rav. It says of you the name of Rav. The Amri lan sabu zeh Rabbi Chia bar Rabbi Yochanan. The Amri lan sabu zeh Rabbi Shmuel ben Nachman ben Yonatan. Olam lamed ben chavero Torah zoche v'yoshev v'yeshiva shel mala. If you're going to teach ben chavero, right, Torah, you're going to be zoched yoshev v'yeshiva shel mala. Shneimar b'zez v'sukim tashuv v'ashivecha lefanai ta'amod. What does that mean? Hashem comes and he tells Yirmiyahu Navi, if you're going to be matzliach to get to Yisrael to do teshuvah through your tochacha, I'm going to give them back to you. What does that mean? You're going to stand in front of me. You're going to be for Olam Haba. V'chol amlamed et ben ha'maaretz Torah. Yeah, if you're going to teach a ben ha'maaretz Torah, afilu HaKadosh Baruch Hu gozer gezerah. Even if HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to be gozer gezerah, mevatla bishvilo, he's going to be vatelet for him. Right? Shneimar says in pasuk, im totzi yakar mizolel. If you're going to take something precious, which is a tamir chacham, from a zolel, you know zolel v'sovea, right? From somebody that's a zol, somebody that's an amaretz, kefitie. It's going to be like my mouth, that I'm going to be, that he's, right, that I could be gozer gezerah, ve'ata tuchal vatla. You could be able to come and to be mevate. Incredible, mamash. You see how the greatness of what it is, why they went out to the extremes. They were trying to come and, mamash, to take out the good, right, in everybody, in order to come and to make sure that they're going to grow in Torah and Yirat. Amar Rabbi Parnach, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Says Rabbi Parnach, the name of Rabbi Yochanan. Kol shu tamid chacham. Anybody that's a tamid chacham. Uvno tamid chacham. And his son is tamid chacham. Uvem beno tamid chacham. And his grandson is tamid chacham. Shuv en Torah poseket mizaro leolam. The Torah will always be in, right, the children. Shneimar, it says the pasuk, ואני זאת בריתי אותם אמר השם מביך ומושו מפיך ומביא זרעך ומביא זרע זרעך אמר השם מעתה ועד עולם. What does that mean? It was 3 generations. It says מפיך, מפי זרעך, the children, זרע זרעך, the grandchildren, So then, what does it mean, Hashem? I'm going to be your guarantor. The Torah is going to go and it's going to look after its aksanya. What does it mean? It's going to look after its aksanya. It comes and it says that it's always going to go to the place where it stays, and therefore, he comes and he says, right, that it's always going to, like, as if that this is what you're saying. So therefore, in that zechut, it's going to be Godel Torah. Another story, Rav Yosef Yativa Bain Tanita. So Rav Yosef came and he did 40 taniyot in order that the Torah should not stop, right, for his children. They went and they said, that's it. He's going to Yativa Bain Tanita Charine. Another 100. Interesting why it had to be 100. Here it says the Marshal was Magia also mem, meaning like 40 as well. Because why is it 40, 40, then 100? She said, no, it should also be not mea, it should also be mem. So it's another 40. So basically, every single time he did 40, so therefore it made sure, right, that it wasn't going to be for him, it wasn't going to be for his children, and then another 40 for his grandchildren, right? So therefore, Yativ mem tanita chnida, Amar mikav elach lo tzrichna, I don't have to do anymore. Why? That means once he already had a bituach from HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he was going to have, right? So everyone heard 40 fasts, David. Yeah, start tomorrow. Yeah,
So
yeah, 40 fasts. You start 3 times.
No,
No, that was the first one. But he wanted to make sure that it was always going to be by him.
Yeah.
So for the first 40 was for him. So therefore it's a...
Each one 40.
No, that 100 I just told you was the Girsai, was really b'mem, another 40. So it's 40, 40, 40, 120.
40, but grandson 40. 3 times.
Okay?
What does it say?
Look at the footnote. 30,
No,
Marshal was Magia. Even though it could be, there might be other explanations. There's the Marshal, there's Ben Yehuda, but fine. But it could be. Yeah. Okay. Next story. Rabbi Zera. You saw it or not? Huh? What no? No, it doesn't say that. Marshal. But again, he says, look at the Marshal. There's a Marshal, there's also a Ben Yehuda, Ben Ishchai. So it could be maybe Bemet, you do need more. Yeah. Okay. What? If you don't fall asleep, yes. Rabbi Zera. Okay, kol hakavod. Kol hakavod.
So can we shut up the DC? Why?
Rabbi Zera. Yeah. I'm going to take this off for a minute. Rabbi Zera. Kisali Clara di Israel. Rabbi Zera, when he went up to Eretz Israel, right, Yativ Me'at Anita. He did 100 fasts. Tilishtakach Gamra Bavla Mineh. Right, that he should forget, right, the Talmud Bavli. Like Yehecha Delonit, in order that it shouldn't bother him when he's going to learn in Eretz Israel from Rabbi Yohanan, right? Which means that they used to learn in Eretz Israel different from in Bavel. In Eretz Israel, it says they were very nochim zelazeh, right? And therefore, they weren't big in machlokot. You know, like the Babylonians, they were very, very big with machlokot and everything. In Eretz Israel, they were peaceful, not in Bavel. Yeah, I think they're not understanding. Ela, no, you're not reading. Read. They were very nice to each other. They were helping each other. They wanted to know the truth. That's what it means. They were always machloket. Yeah, they were always it was mamash. It was saying. So he comes and he says, Rabbi Zera said he didn't want that this is going to come and have an effect on him, right, in the future. It's very good. Yativ me'acharaniata telo lishkuv Rabbi Lazar mishne. He did another 100 fasts in order that Rabbi Lazar, right, would not die during his lifetime. And then it's going to go on to him, right? All the inyanim of the tzibur. And then he did another 100. That he shouldn't have the fire of Ginam. Every single 30 days, he used to check. How would he check? Shagar tanura, he used to turn on the oven. Vesalik v'yat v'gaveh, and he used to sit in the oven. Yeah, v'lo v'shalta benura, but it never actually burnt him. It's a good check. Yeah, you want to try it at home? I don't advise. Yom achad, one day, Yavu b'Rabbanan, they came and they gave him an ayin hara, v'yichrachu sakeh, and his shock, right? Shakeh, his shock, his thighs got a little bit burnt. V'karilei, and therefore they called him katin charich shakeh. The katin, right? The katan, which was charoch shukain, right? That means basically because he was very, very short. So kilu they went there. That's why he's also called zeira, which is hakatan, right? And Bavli, they skip out the ayin. That's why it's Rabbi Zera, meaning his name was Rabbi Zera because in Bavel they take out the ayin, but his name was Zeira, right? Not Rabbi Zera, Rabbi Zeira with an ayin. They added it's really with the ayin. Okay, another story. Oops, right? Another story. But did you realize though that here it's 100 fasts for each thing, not 40? So I don't know. We have to check that about the previous. We have to check about the previous, obviously 100. We're going to have to find out, right, about what that was. Okay, next, right? The doctor, you still had a good question that I don't have an answer though. It could be that maybe it was only just to forget. It wasn't forgetting the Torah. It was maybe forgetting the attributes of getting the Torah. Meaning that, for example, right, in a certain place, it could be that since in Bavel they were very, very feisty, he wanted to forget Torah Bavel, not the Torah. But Kilu, he didn't want to. So when he comes here, he doesn't want somebody's going to say something and he's going to pounce on them like a, like a lion, like some people do. You know, so he wanted them. He wanted calm, shwa. Like derecheretz. Fine. Amar Rav Yehuda Marav, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. My dichti was in the pasuk. Mi ha'isha chacham yaven et zot v'asher diber pi Hashem elav yagid al mav da'aretz. Right, this is a very famous Gemara. Davar zeh, this thing, right, was asked. Amru chachamim, the chachamim said, "V'lo pishu," they didn't explain it. Amru neviim, they asked to the neviim. They weren't able. Meaning, we wanted to find out why was Eretz Yisrael destroyed? Why was the Bet Hamikdash? What happened? Ad shepirshu Hakadosh Baruch Hu bichvodo be'atzmo, until Hakadosh Baruch Hu himself explained Shneimar, "Vayom Hashem elazon Torati asher natati lifneim." They abandoned my Torah. Amar Rav Yehuda Rav says in Midrash, "Shelo bichu b'Torah b'tzechila." They didn't make a bracha. Amar Rav Chama says, "My mind, what do you mean the pasuk? Belev navon tanu hachokma ukerev kesilim tivadea." What does it mean? Belev navon tanuach, that it's going to have in a lev navon. The chokhmah is a tamid chacham ben tamid chacham. That's what it means. In a lev nachon, it's going to have the chokhmah. Ukerev kesilim tivada is a tamid chacham, the son of an amaretz. What does that mean? When you have a tamid chacham coming from family of an amaretz, so therefore he's modia to davar in order to be mitpaer b'kitra shel Torah. Why? Because kilu, it's a chidush, meaning a tamid chacham, it's no big deal. So he doesn't have to, spread it out. But here he has to spread it out because kilu, it's something new. Amar Ula, and Ula says, Hanu dam ninshe, that's what people say. Istira belagina kish kish karya. A matbea of a sela, when it's by itself, it makes a lot of noise, right? But when it's full of a whole bunch of slaim, it doesn't make a lot of noise. Meaning if it's a single coin, it starts making a lot of noise. But if it's going to be by itself, with a whole bunch of them, it doesn't make a lot of noise. So Amar le Rabbi Yirmiyah le Rabbi Zera, again, it's the same one. Says Rabbi Yirmiyah to Rabbi Zera, what mean the pasuk kadom v'gadol sham hu ve'ev choshim adonav, right? What does that mean here exactly? It says both of them are going to be in the kever. So it said ev choshim adonav. Actually, we don't know the kadom v'gadol sham hu. He says for sure it's all whether it's a gadol or katan. Everyone's going to die. Who is it gadol or katan? Ela kol maktina atzmo divrei Torah ba'olam hazeh. Anybody that minimizes himself in divrei Torah in this world, nasa gadol olam ba. You make himself great in olam ba. V'chol masim atzmo ke'eved. Anybody that makes himself into an eved in olam hazeh, naaseh choshi olam haba. He'll be free in the next world. Rabbi Shakish have a mitzayen me'arat d'Rabbanan. Rabbi Shakish used to come and samen the me'arot of the kvura of the chachamim in order that the how do you call this? In order that the kohanim will not go and they will not become how do you call this? They won't become tameh, obviously, right? So tum'ah. So it says kimata l'marta de Rabbi Chia. When he got to the me'ara of Rabbi Chia, he wasn't able to. He couldn't find it. Chalash tateh. He was very, very. Like he was chalash talto because he thought that that's a siman that he's not fitting to go by Rabbi Haya. So Amar, he said, Ribono shel olam, lo pilpalti Torah kemoto. This is what I didn't learn. I wasn't mipalpel in Torah like him. Why wasn't I zochet to go into the me'ara to the kvura? Yatsa bar kova amra lo Torah kemoto pilpalta, Torah kemoto lo ribatzta. You were mepalpel a lot in Torah, but you didn't actually come and you didn't teach others like him. So Kihavu Minsu, Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia, was then when they were arguing, Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia, Elmaleh Rabbi Chanina and Rabbi Chia, Abad Didika means says what? You're arguing with me. Chas v'shalom ishtaka Torah Yisrael, ma'adran lam people. Do you know that even if we would forget the Torah, I would bring it all back because of the pilpul? Elmaleh Rabbi Chia Rabbi Chanina says Rabbi Chia to Rabbi Chanina. So Rabbi Chanina told Rabbi Chia that because of my pilpul, I could bring back the Torah. Says Rabbi Chia to Rabbi Chanina, "Well, you're arguing with me. What did I do? I made that the Torah is not going to be forgotten from Israel. Mayavina, what did I do? Azilna v'shadina kitna. I came and I planted pishtan, flax, v'gadina nishpe, and then I made nets, v'tzadina tave, and we caught deers. Umachilna b'sar liyatmim, we gave the flesh to the yitomim. V'arichna migilta, we made from the skins, we made the scrolls. And we wrote the Chamisha Chumshe Torah. Salikna Namata, we went into the city. And we taught them 5. Each one of them, we taught them one of the Chamisha Chumshe Torah. And then we went and we taught them to 6 different children. Shishat Sidra Mishnah. And then we told them, Ada Adrana Vatena, until we're going to come back. Akru Adadi, Vatnu Adadi. Teach each other. And that's how the meaning like this. He was very, very smart. He took one boy and he tells him, Moshe, you're learning brachot. Yeah, David, you're learning Shabbat. Yeah, Doctor Eruvin, Ronen, yeah, Yevamot. Yeah, each one you just go around. You throw out Gimarot. Yeah, what happens? So what happened was then he comes and tells him, now you know what? Teach each other. Because once you were an expert in one, so now teach the other one, and that's how he's going to make right that they're not going to come and forget Torah Yisrael. And that's what Rabbi said. Kama gedolima sehiya. Look how great are the actions of Rabbi Chia. Amaleh Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosef. Afilu mimar. Even from more. Meaning what? His actions are greater than yours. Amaleh, he says, yes. Afilu me'aba. Even from, he said what? Even from your father Rabbi Yosef. Amaleh, he said, chas v'shalom. Lo te'ekazod. He said, no, that cannot be. Which means for sure my father was greater than the actions of Rabbi Chia. It says here Rabbi Yosef was during the time of Nesiuto of Rabbi, and he was Kafuf Yoshev Livnei Rabbi. Right? Because he used to say Kvar Zaken. So therefore he says, In Ken Lichora, Rabbi Ayagadol Rabbi Yosef. So if so, what does that mean then he was Kafuf? So what's going on then? But rather he comes and he says it was a Nasach Cham Biyoter Rabbi Yosef, but okay, fine. But he says the Masim Yosef was Gadol Yoter. Okay, it could be that there's a whole question. What does that mean there? Fine, next. Amar Rabbi Zera. Says Rabbi Zera. Emesh nirali Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina. Right, last night came to me in a dream. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina, and I told him, it's a miyata takua. Where are you in Yeshiva Shalmala? Amali says it's by Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan is by who? Rabbi Yanai. Rabbi Yanai is by who? By Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina is by who? By Rabbi Chia. Amarti Rabbi Yochanan, it's Rabbi Chia lo? He says what? I don't understand. He's not fitting to. Why cannot Rabbi Yochanan be by Rabbi Chia? Amali ba'atar dezikukin denura u'vionin de'asha. Right? He says in a place of nitzotze esh and lapide esh. Man ma'yel bar nafcha letaman. Right? Who's going to bring bar nafcha Rabbi Yochanan over there? Right? Who's going to bring him over there? Fine. So he says over here, Amar Rav Chaviva yishtai li Rav Chaviva Rasunke. So he told me Rav Chaviva Rasunke. Chazle Rabbanan. I saw Rabbanan. Davashiach Eliyahu Gabeh. There was Eliyahu Navi by him. That in the morning he had very nice eyes. And in the nighttime his eyes were like burning fire. They told him, what is this? He told me, I want to show me the rabbis on the Ermetivta de Rakia. He said, you could look at everything except for the safsal of Rabbi Haya. You're not allowed to look at it. So he says, what does this mean? How do you know which one's which? He says, he says, all of them, all the Moshavim and Tzadikim, the Malachim will come and then they go up and down. Except for the Moshav and Rebchia, the Minashe Salik and Achit, that from him it's Olev Yored, he doesn't need any help. So he wasn't able to stop himself. He took it and he did look. And therefore there were 2 sort of fire that came, and it hit the person and it made him blind. Right? And therefore the next day, Azlu Ishtatche Amarta, he went to on the Kever of Chia, Amina, and he said, Matnieta de more Matnita, the Braitot of the Tosefta that the Rav taught, I always learn, Itaseh, and therefore he was cured. Which means that it still made an impact on his eyes, and therefore he had like that the eyes looked like fire, but he was actually going to be saved only because he was learning the Torah of Rabbi Chia, right? Which is going to be obviously the Braitot, the Tosefta. Rabbi Chia was the one that was Misader the Tosefta, right? And therefore that's why he comes and he says that since he was always learning the Tosefta of Rabbi Chia, so therefore Rabbi Chia cured him, even though he looked at the Safsaleh of Rabbi Chia. Next story, Eliyahu v'Shachni b'mitita the Rabbi. Eliyahu Navi was always ragil in the yeshiva of Rabbi. Yom Achad Reshi Al Chava. One day was Rosh Chodesh. Nagalev Loata. Eliyahu Navi did not come. So Amaleh went and he said, "My tama the Nagalev more." He says, "Why did you come late today?" Basically, so Rabbi told him, "Why did you come late?" Amaleh he says, "Admukimna Avraham. I had to wake up Avraham Avinu. Umeshini Yadeu Matzle, and then I washed his hands, right, and to pray." Yeah. So he says over here, right, to pray. And then V'chel Yitzchak, V'chel Yaakov, also Yitzchak Avinu and Yaakov Avinu, look mibade adade, and then I put them together, right? And therefore, he didn't have to. So what happened? Savri, right, they thought in the Shamayim, Takfe Berachme, that if you have all the Avot HaKdoshim praying for Klal Yisrael, Maitil Mashiach lo zamneh, they're going to bring the Mashiach at not at the proper time. Meaning, right, what?
Not proper or before time?
Before the time.
Yeah, really.
Right, before the time. Okay. So therefore he says, right, he says, Amalei come and he says, so basically what happened is that he had to do one by one. So he asked him, why don't you just do all together? He says, no, but if not, the Mashiach will come and not at the proper time. Amalei, he says, is there a dugma of the tefillah of the tzaddikim they say? Amalei, he says, Ika Rebbe Chia Banav. Right? You have Rebbe Chia Banav. Kazar Rebbe Tanit, Rebbe made a Tanit. Right? Vachtinu Rebbe Chia Banav. And he put Rebbe Chia and his children in Chazrat HaShatz. Right? And what happened? In Chazrat HaShatz, they came, Amar Mashiva Ruach, Nashva Ruach, Nashva Zika, came the Ruach. Amar Mori the Geshem Atamitra. When he wanted to say Mechaya Metim, Ragash Alma, the world started shaking. Amri Birakia, they went in the Rakia and they said, Manu Gale Razaya Ba'alma. Who was the one that was Megale the sword to my children? Amri, they said it was Eliyahu Navi. They brought Eliyahu Navi, they gave him lashes. How many lashes do you give in Shamayim? I explained this to you guys already.
60.
Why 60? You cheated. You cheated. I told you. The reason why is because down here, when do you get punished? At what age? Down here, I said, Shlosheseh, bar mitzvah. 3 times the 13 is 39. Upstairs, when do you get punished? 20. 3 times 20 is 60. Lashes in Shamayim are always 60 lashes. Lashes down here below are always 39 lashes. That's why you do v'urachum. You do v'urachum 3 times, right? And the v'urachum, I do it every Erev Kippur. Yeah, I do Erev Kippur. The only thing is, but I do it very, very nicely. Yeah, I do it me'ava. That's the difference. Yeah, yeah. Let's see, Shem.
He doesn't want to use your belt. He doesn't want to use your belt.
No, he likes to use my belt.
Yeah, so he says, what happened? They hit him 60 lashes. He made them like a dove of fire. Right? And therefore it stopped them from having kavanah. Meaning, if it wasn't for the fact that he would have stopped them having kavanah, they would have brought right away, right, the Mashiach right away. So here it says that he came to them like a dove because he wanted to show them that you guys wanted to bring the Mashiach, but you guys are not fitting for that, and therefore you guys are not have to still prepare, right, your hearts for it. And therefore you came like a dove, which is tearing the hearts. Because the dove, that's what he does, in order to stop them from the tefillah. Okay, there's a beautiful Ben Yehuda. Okay, that's a Ben Yishchai. Shmuel, yeah, Yarchina, Asye de Rebbe Ava. Shmuel Yarchina was the Rofe of Rebbe. Chalash Rebbe Bene, once Rebbe had eye problems. Amaleh went and he said, Yamaleh Lachsama, put some refuah. Amaleh Lechina, I can't. Right? So he says, Ishtar Lach Mishtar. Says, I'll put a bit of badinut. Amaleh Lechina, I can't. Right? Avamotiv lebegaveh de samane. So Shmuel came and he put it a little bit inside. Tute besadye, right? Under the car of Rebbe. Itase, and that means he put it a little bit underneath the car of Rebbe, the pillow of Rebbe. And it became, that means it was so strong, it went through the pillow and it went into the eyes, right? But that means imagine how strong it was. That's why he wasn't able to withstand it if it would actually go into his eyes. Rabbi, right, did not want to come and give semicha to Shemuel, right? Even though he was a baki and chacham and a baki. Rabbi Simeon, and it never came out. Elmaleh, he says, "Lo this time more." I saw from the Sefer of Adam Rishon, it's written, Shemuel Yarchina, Hakim Yitkere, Rebbe Lo Yitkere. Right? So he says he's only going to be called a Chacham, but not a Rebbe. The Asu, the Rebbe al Yadote, but I will come and I will cure Rebbe. So therefore he went and he says, don't worry about it, that you're not giving me semicha. I'm not upset about it. I already saw in the Sefer of Adam Rishon that this is exactly what's supposed to happen.